Hey everyone, Internet Pieces book reader here. Today I want to talk about Butter by Asako Yuzuki. The author Asako have wrote quite a lot of books, but if I'm not mistaken, this is the first ever book she wrote that becomes an international bestseller. It is inspired by a true crime done by one Kanai Kajima, and the marketing of the book is quite loud on promising that it is based on a true crime. Also FYI, Kanai is given the serial killer name Konkatsu Murderer. I think we started to learn not to give this serial killer cool and edgy name. Covering these real crimes always have the risk of glorifying what they did in a disgusting way, even when well written, because it tried too much to make them become the main character, if that makes sense, kinda like Netflix Dahmer that didn't give enough high life to the victims. But it's not like you cannot do some justice to them by showing how much of a creep these murderers are. Blackbird, for example, from Apple TV, have done some really good job on focusing on the effect of the crimes to the victims. It's one of the reasons that I try to highlight the 5 victims of Jack the Ripper on the book The Five that I read at the end of last year. Since it's based on a true crime, I tried to find out more about the crime committed before reading the book, so I at least have an understanding on how bad the crimes committed was before going into the book. I've read a few small articles like from Tokyo Weekender, but most of my knowledge of the crime comes from Wikipedia, which I know is not ideal, but that's what we're going with. For now, let's get on with the story. In the story, we follow a journalist named Rika Majida. She's visiting her newly married friend Reiko, where she broke butter on the way there because Reiko asked for it. An expository detail and an in-your-face title reference so early in the book, which did not bode well for the storytelling. Through more exposition, we know more about both Rika and Reiko. They're both 33. Rika works in a very hectic news company where she even had to make plans to go back to the office after this reunion with Reiko. Meanwhile, Reiko used to work as the PR department in a TV company, but because she was suggested that 2 years of marriage not being able to have a child is her fault for being so busy at work, she decided to quit her job. She's still not pregnant yet after going jobless, but at least now she's home not wearing makeup, I guess. They were busy reading and interpreting the story of Little Babaji, where the tiger turns into butter after running around in circles, then got eaten by the Babaji family when Reiko's husband Ryosuke got home. We had more exposition about Ryosuke's background and how Reiko and her got married, along with both Rika and Reiko's broken home background. They then decided to have dinner from what Reiko has cooked for them when the conversation turns into Rika's job trying to get an interview with the convicted serial killer Manako Kaji. She's interested in the case because despite having killed so many people, she is what is known in the White Coral Criminal as honeypot criminal. She met with lonely older men in a marriage meetup and she tricked them out of their money, and for some she killed them. Allegedly, at least on the kill them part. But that's not the part that makes Rika so obsessed with trying to learn more about the case. It is because of how the case got viral in the first place. It did not go viral because Manako is a killer, but because Manako is not a woman who is conventionally attractive. So in the public conversation, she got called fat and ugly more than she was called a murderer. Some of them also points out how good of a cook she must have been to be able to attract those men. Some even go as far as making fun of the victim of the murder for falling for her trap with how she looks. But there's one problem with her attempt at writing for the case. Manako is not responding to any journalists. Rika has even tried to contact her a few times without any result. Reiko suggested to try to ask for the beef recipe where her victims often ate, which Rika decided to try, and to her surprise, it works. Manako decided to contact her back and offer for an interview. Rika went to the prison the next day for an interview with Manako, where the author described Manako in a very glorifying manner, which feels icky when you consider that Manako is based on real murderer with actual victims. They also only talk about food, about margarine and butter, and fat and cholesterol and trans fat, which is where the tagline of the book comes when Manako said, "There are two things that I simply cannot tolerate, feminist and margarine." Manako then gave Rika a simple recipe on cooking rice with just butter and soy sauce, which Rika immediately did when she got home. She bought some rice cooker, cooked some rice, cleaned her house, which is small according to her exposition, and then she ate all the rice she cooked until late at night. We then follow Rika's life while waiting for the next visit to Manako. Rika's relationship with her boyfriend, her performance at work that has made her into the first female journalist in her outlet company, the person she met by chance who becomes her informer that gave her a lot of newsworthy information. All of those exposition until she met with Manako again, and with each meeting she seems to eat more healthily and gain more weight, which in the public eyes, especially in Japan, is not considered to be an ethical thing. We are also introduced to Rika's family, including her mother and grandfather, which of course also involve a lot of exposition about their backgrounds. Because of how the story is told, everything took so long since it's mostly just one long description after another. Rika and Manako only met a few times to actually change, but change she did. Then her change affected other people in some of the most nonsensical ways, since the initial change already doesn't make much sense. Then Rika go on a trip with Reiko, where after the trip, Rika just suddenly started to see that Manako is just someone who failed to see the humanity of other people and started to abandon Manako. Honestly, the book is badly written. There's so much exposition used to just straight out describe events and character backgrounds, and most of them really doesn't add anything to the plot and the character. It's just more detail that even if we don't know, it doesn't really matter that much. So all the characters are not fleshed out at all and very skeletal. You can replace them with each other and it will barely change anything in the story. And there's the dialogue, which is always deep from start to finish. The author also had a weird choice where the dialogue is an exposition surrounded by non-dialogue exposition, with the non-dialogue often or even always longer than the dialogue. This makes the dialogue that is already stiff in the first place becomes much stiffer, since there's often a delay between each response in conversation. If it was meant for an awkward pause in the middle of the conversation, maybe it can make the story uncomfortableness come across to us, the reader. But no, this is meant to be regular conversation between the characters. It's just bad writing. Another example is this spread page where after Reiko says some exposition dialogue about Kajimana's restaurant, there's long, almost a whole page exposition about how diligent Reiko is as a person and about the restaurant history. It's like the book is trying to make a satirical comment about bad exposition by doing them. And it's not just a rare case or one or two of them. The entire book is written like that. It's a whole story told through exposition and explanation, which doesn't make for a very compelling storytelling despite the book having some decent idea. One of the big themes being explored in the story is about desire. It has some interesting twists on the conversation surrounding it, both desirability as a person in a relationship, or desire for food, how sometimes like foodgasm come about, and societal pressure for both of them, both in making food feels like something that you have to desire for, like travel and luxury items, using FOMO to help sell them, and how that clash when confronted with society beauty standard of making people feel like they're below standard of desirability when they're not in certain range of weight, and then hitting them with another FOMO, how no one will want them unless they do something about that weight because they have less value just based on their looks, which I think is a good thing to have. But the way the story is delivered is not good at all, because the way the story is told is through the author explaining the story through exposition. The story often grinds to a halt while we wait for the explanation to be over, and despite the length of the novel, which is 452 pages, there's a lack of nuance to the story because the story just repeats its theme again and again, a theme that was never told in an interesting way in the first place, so it's not only boring but also repetitive, a bad combination for any storytelling. It didn't help that sometimes the explanation using the exposition didn't help make the story make sense in various parts of the story, since they have no weight in the story at all. Like how Manako in the story feels like a cult leader, not because she felt like a cult leader, but because that's how Rika explained it to us. She's not a compelling character at all. There's little sense in how she changed Rika. Then you add that with the fact that she's based on an actual criminal, then the book felt really demeaning to the victim of her crime in the real world. Kanai Kijima, the inspiration behind Manako Kaji, is a truly horrible person based on what I've read. She scammed more than 10 people, then she escalated from fraud to murder. The murder she was convicted on is 3 people, but there are more than those 3 who died, and their death cannot be proven to be her doing merely because of legality. Well, there is something to say about how the much older man affected her since she was just a teenager, and how after the crime people focus more on her look than her action. The book did not do any of this conversation well at all. I mentioned at the start how there are people who blame the victims in the actual crime, blaming them for falling for such a bad looking woman. But there are at least just some loser in real life that's not capitalizing on the victim of said crime. The same thing could not be said about the author, who not only belittle the crime and the victim of the crime, but makes money out of it. It's like the author have this nice respectable goal in the telling the story. It is weird that your response to a murder is to label the murderer being ugly and fat, because it implies that if the murderer is not ugly and not fat, then it's okay that they become murderers, which is not. But along the way the story is formed, the author took all the wrong steps and got into the wrong finish line, where instead of respectable, it's the opposite of that. I give this a 0.25. What do you think? Let me know if I miss anything, so leave your thoughts in the comment below and subscribe to the channel. That's about it. See ya.